Since 2011, the U.S. Water Alliance has awarded the preeminent recognition for innovations in One Water. This year, the announcement of the U.S. Water Prize comes at a time when a global pandemic is shining a spotlight on the need for safe, reliable, and affordable water and greater investment in our nation's water systems. We wanted to take a moment to thank all of those in the water sector for their courageous service in this time of crisis. And amidst these hard times, the U.S. Water Alliance team is gratified to have an opportunity to celebrate the 6 winners of U.S. Water Prize 2020. These winners are an important reminder that while the challenges facing water infrastructure and water resources are great, that our capacity for innovation and for problem solving is even greater. We hope that the 2020 winners inspire you as much as they inspire us.
This year's winner of the U.S. Water Prize for the Public Sector category is Denver Water. Serving 1.5 million people in the Mountain West, Denver Water is the oldest and largest water provider in Colorado. In a state where water scarcity is the norm, Denver Water is pioneering a range of One Water approaches. Denver Water embraced an integrated water management strategy for the redevelopment of its 34-acre headquarters. This redevelopment includes sustainable features like water recycling and rainwater harvesting. The utility also pushed for new state regulations to enable innovative ways to use and reuse water. The impact of the utility's One Water leadership is rippling across Colorado as other facilities take advantage of the new regulations. This year's winner of the U.S. Water Prize for the Cross-Sector Partnership category is Flint Community Lab. In 2018, Flint Development Center, Freshwater Future, and the University of Michigan Biological Station came together to create the Mackenzie Patrice Kroom Flint Community Lab. Their goal is to address the challenge of rebuilding public trust in the wake of the Flint water crisis. The lab's purpose is to inspire community members to get involved in their city's water issues and to provide accurate and trusted information to residents about the water that serves them. With its positive impact on water issues and the health and well-being of community members, the Flint Community Lab exemplifies the broad-based impact that cross-sector partnerships can have across America. This year's winner of the U.S. Water Prize for the Nonprofit category is Iowa Soybean Association. Iowa Soybean Association explores and promotes water management practices that benefit farmers, watersheds, and communities. Rooted in the agricultural sector, Iowa Soybean Association carries out projects that show how certain farming practices that protect Iowa's waterways can also benefit the bottom line of farmers. Iowa Soybean Association is also driving watershed planning across the state, sparking conversations and innovations that create cross-sector agreement on water management challenges. Iowa Soybean Association's approach to One Water enables progress toward goals for water quality and quantity in ways that benefits all stakeholders. This year's winner of the U.S. Water Prize for the Private Sector category is Marriott International. As part of Marriott's sustainability and social impact goals, the company aims to reduce water intensity across all properties by 15% over the next 5 years. Marriott's approach to saving water includes an innovative water control system for air conditioning coolers. Marriott also conserves water in several other aspects of hotel operations, including laundry and linen reuse programs, dishwashing and water service at restaurants and events, and landscaping and irrigation. Marriott's investments in sustainable and integrated water management illustrate the company's visionary leadership. Marriott is driving solutions to water challenges across the hospitality industry. This year's winner of the U.S. Water Prize for the Outstanding Journalism on the Value of Water category is Jose Del Real. for his reporting on the water access gap in California. Jose Del Real's reporting has brought to light what has been an underreported problem in America, that there are millions of people in our nation without access to drinking water and sanitation. In his reporting for the New York Times, Jose spotlighted what the lack of water access means for low-income communities in California's Central Valley. Jose's coverage helped propel California legislation, enacted in 2019, that provides $130 million to fund clean drinking water infrastructure. Jose Del Real's coverage demonstrates how journalism can help push for water policy innovations and ultimately advance a One Water for All future. This year's winner of the U.S. Water Prize for the Outstanding Public Official category is United States Senator Ben Cardin for authoring and supporting policies that build a sustainable water future. Over his distinguished career, Senator Ben Cardin has been a champion for America's water. An advocate for the environment, Senator Cardin has introduced legislation to restore the health of America's great water bodies. In addition to his dedication to the betterment of the Chesapeake Bay, Senator Cardin also has a long record of fighting for better water infrastructure. He is also an advocate for water justice, sponsoring bipartisan legislation to create a low-income assistance program for water customers. These historic achievements for our nation's water and for the citizens who rely on it every day make Senator Ben Cardin a true One Water leader.
Manager and CEO of Seattle Public Utilities. I'm also honored to serve as the board chair for the U.S. Water Alliance. On behalf of the entire board and staff, I want to welcome you to this year's U.S. Water Prize ceremony. First, let me begin by thanking our 2020 sponsors, American Water, Black & Veatch, Evoqua, Greeley & Hansen, Stantec, and Xylem for your generous support of the U.S. Water Prize. I know we all miss gathering in person. We're excited to bring you our first virtual U.S. Water Prize ceremony. On an annual basis, the U.S. Water Alliance awards the U.S. Water Prize, the premier recognition program for One Water management in America. The purpose of the U.S. Water Prize is to celebrate One Water innovators and their courageous efforts to transform water management towards integration, sustainability, and equity. I'm a proud recipient of the Water Prize in 2012 when I was at Philadelphia Water. Winning the Water Prize was a big deal for all of us. It was acknowledgement of our progress as a utility, but it was also a call to action to continue to accelerate and scale our Green City Clean Waters program. Today, the Water Prize ceremony takes place at a moment when One Water leadership is more important than ever. We have unprecedented compounding crises facing communities across the country and around the globe. While these challenges are daunting, I'm heartened by the outstanding work of the 2020 winners of the U.S. Water Prize and by all the One Water leaders in our audience today. Now, I'd like to introduce Radhika Fox, CEO of the U.S. Water Alliance, who will serve as the MC for today's ceremony and moderate a discussion. Radhika, I want to thank you and your incredible, talented staff at the Alliance for your great work on the Water Prize ceremony and all the programs you're advancing on behalf of our nation's waters. Radhika?
Thank you so much, Mommy. It is truly our honor as staff to have you as our board chair. And I just want to echo Mommy in welcoming all the hundreds of folks who are dialed in from around the country to celebrate our 2020 winners. I also want to echo Mommy's appreciation for our 2020 sponsors, American Water, Black & Veatch, Evoqua, Greeley & Hansen, Stantec, and Xylem. When they first signed on as sponsors, we had planned a big celebration in Washington, D.C., and they have been with us all along the way as we've moved to this virtual format, so we thank them. So without further ado, let's get started with our celebration. Our time together today is going to be in two parts. First, we're going to hear from all of our 6 winners about their innovations, and then we're going to engage in moderated discussion. So to get us started, Maureen Duffy from American Water will introduce the winner of our public official category.
Hello, everyone. I'm excited to kick off today's celebration. I'm Maureen Duffy, Senior Vice President of Communications and External Affairs for American Water. The entire American Water team is so proud to sponsor the U.S. Water Prize and to recognize this year's class of outstanding winners. At American Water, we believe that water should be clean, safe, reliable, and affordable, a belief that is shared by our first winner. He has been a lifelong advocate for our nation's water and for citizens who rely on it every day. I'm so pleased to announce that this year's recipient of the U.S. Water Prize for Outstanding Public Official is Senator Ben Cardin. Senator Cardin has introduced legislation to restore the health of America's great water bodies, to fund water infrastructure, and to promote water justice. One of Senator Cardin's most recent achievements is his sponsorship of bipartisan legislation to create a low-income assistance program for water customers, which is so needed right now. Congratulations, Senator Cardin.
Kind comments. Radhika, thank you, and all the staff at U.S. Water Alliance for their great work that you do. Mommy, thank you for your leadership on behalf of the U.S. Water Alliance and the work that all of you do. This is a great honor, and I thank you for it. My only regret is that we can't have that great celebration in person, but this is the next best thing to see all your faces. So thank you for making these arrangements during these very, very challenging times. I want to first join in congratulating my fellow honorees. You have a great group of individuals and groups that have been in the forefront of sustainable, safe, clean water. And it's really an honor to receive this award, but to be in the company of so many outstanding contributors to clean water in our community. So congratulations to all the honorees. And to the U.S. Water Alliance, thank you for what you do. You bring together a diverse group of stakeholders and find a common agenda to move forward on sustainable, clean, safe water. And that is so important in our community. You've accomplished a great deal. You recognize the importance of sustainability. You've been in the forefront of education, which is critically important so that we can have the broad public support for the type of programs we need to advance clean water in our community. This is even more important today as a result of COVID-19. We all know how important water is in dealing with this pandemic. We also know that the issue of affordability has become a very much front and center. So it also underscores the importance for us to come together with legislation to provide affordability of safe water for all people in our community, the accessibility. And that's one of the issues that we hope to get done in this Congress. Let me just underscore where we're working together, where we have a common agenda, and that is the role of the federal government. The role of the federal government in dealing with carrying out that mission of sustainable, clean, safe water for everyone in our community. And it starts with the federal government's partnership as an economic partner, providing the resources that we need. We know we need to do more. The status of our infrastructure for water is not where it should be. Maybe it was 50 years ago, not today. We need to modernize our water infrastructure. The state revolving funds are critically important to do that. We must make sure that we have robust funding at the national level. And with your help, we've been able to get increased funding, but still not at the level that we need. Secondly, the federal government must establish the legal and regulatory framework, so make it clear that we will not accept anything but safe water and clean water in our community. And then we also need to deal with the challenges of resiliency and the climate change issues to make it clear that sustainability needs to adjust for the new realities that we have in our community. So today we can celebrate. Yes, we will celebrate. We're gonna have a good day. But remember, we got a lot of work to be done. And we're at that point of the legislative session here in Washington where decisions are being made on funding and on what's going to happen with the next round of COVID funding. We need to get back to work later this afternoon in order to continue the mission of the U.S. Water Alliance. I'm proud to be on your team, and I'm very honored to accept this award. Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much, Senator Cardin. I wish I had a glass of champagne in my hand to toast you right now. But thank you for your decades of service for our nation's waters. And on behalf of the board and the staff at the U.S. Water Alliance, we stand ready to support you as you move your water agenda forward in Congress. So thank you again for joining us today.
My pleasure.
Now I'd like to turn it over to Snehal Desai from Evoqua, who will introduce our next winner in the journalism category.
Hello to our wonderful online audience. I'm Snehal Desai, Executive Vice President and Chief Growth Officer for Evoqua Water Technologies. On behalf of the 4,200 women and men of Evoqua, we're honored to be a part of this year's celebration and to support the U.S. Water Alliance as a Leaders Circle member. At the core of our business, Evoqua transforms water and enriches life. We are a clean water technology company that purifies water for our customers to protect future generations. And we know that water is essential to communities' health and well-being, a fact that our next winner knows well. I'm delighted to award the U.S. Water Prize for Journalism on the value of water to Jose Del Real for his reporting on the water access gap in Central California. Jose's reporting in the New York Times has brought to light what has been an underreported problem in America, that there are millions of people in our nation without access to drinking water and sanitation. His work has helped propel California legislation that provides funding for clean drinking water infrastructure. Let me turn it over now to Jose, and congratulations.
All right. One of the tricks of doing these things on a virtual event is hitting the unmute button, right? Well, first off, I just want to say I'm really flattered to be honored with this award. And I'm so delighted that this work is being amplified. This is a public health crisis. You know, let me say that again. It's a public health crisis. But sometimes when disasters move in slow motion, journalists and government officials and the public don't always know how to create or feel a sense of urgency around it. And to my mind, the lack of access to clean drinking water, which is so elemental, remains one of the great injustices in California and nationwide. And it's an injustice that is layered on top of so many others already. I truly feel that the disproportionate burden of water access gaps that are endured by low-income communities of color should keep us all up at night. But of course, I don't need to tell anybody who's tuning into this call how urgent this problem is, and also how complicated and dense and maddening these topics can be. So this recognition to me in part means that I did something right with this reporting. But more importantly, what I hope these stories do is to elevate the amazing work being done on the ground by residents and community organizers and government bureaucrats and institutions that have remained committed to fixing these gaps, to ending these gaps, organizations that have been on the ground doing this work long before I ever showed up to tell stories about it, and that will remain so long after I have moved on to other assignments. The Community Water Center in Visalia, California, the Leadership Council in Fresno, government employees, water policy experts, all sorts of folks who lent me their authority and their insights, not to mention the New York Times, who allowed me to do this work. Thank you for amplifying this, and let's keep it going. We need more human stories about these issues. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jose, for your wonderful coverage. I have to say that in part, it was your coverage that inspired the U.S. Water Alliance to release our report that we did last year on closing the water access gap, which looked at these issues in the Central Valley and several communities around the country. So I'm just going to ask you to keep on covering water, because we need more folks like you elevating this issue with the general public. So thank you, Jose. Next, I'd like to introduce John Take of Stantec, who will be introducing our winner in the private sector category.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're very glad that you could join us to celebrate those who exemplify the One Water movement. I'm John Take, Executive Vice President for Stantec Water, and speaking on behalf of my whole team, we're so glad to be able to support the great work of our co-host, the U.S. Water Alliance, and the work of this year's illustrious winners. At Stantec, we use creativity and innovation to design with community in mind. We're tackling key One Water challenges such as climate change, increasing urbanization, and finding new ways to provide food and energy to the growing world population. Our next winner has their eye on these challenges as well. They're doing great work managing their water and energy intensity at over 7,000 locations around the world. So we're very proud to announce that this year's winner of the U.S. Water Prize for Outstanding Private Sector Organization is Marriott International. Marriott is driving solutions across the whole of the hospitality industry when it comes to water challenges. The company's investments in sustainable and integrated water management illustrate its visionary leadership. Congratulations to the whole Marriott International team.
Well, thank you very much. I am honored and very proud to accept the award on Marriott's behalf and on behalf of all of the associates that day in and day out work very, very hard to accomplish our Serve 360 goals. A number of years ago, we set very aggressive goals for all of our hotels to improve our environmental footprint, including reducing carbon, reducing water, improving renewable energy usage at our hotels, and reducing our landfill footprint as well. And our properties have worked very, very hard. We have a dedicated team against sustainability that has worked very hard to improve our footprint. And this recognition goes a long ways to thanking those associates that are doing the right thing to improve our water footprint and the efforts that they have done over the years. And it has been extensive. We have installed high efficiency irrigation. We have improved cycles of concentration for our air conditioning systems and our cooling towers. We have put in low flow toilets, low flow shower heads. As you can imagine, the water footprint for a hotel is very large. Right now, it's not very large for obvious reasons, but we hope to get back to business as usual as soon as we possibly can. So thank you very much to the Water Alliance. We are very proud to receive this award. Thank you.
And thank you, Rob. It's when brands like Marriott lead on water sustainability and stewardship, many companies follow. I will also say I have a lot of Marriott points that I cannot wait to use when we are past COVID. And for viewers, Rob was sharing at the beginning of this that the landscape behind him is a photograph he took himself during a trek to Machu Picchu. So in addition to sustainability, he is a talented photographer. Thank you, Rob.
Well, thank you. We hope that you can come back and stay with us real soon.
I would love that. Next up, I would like to introduce Paul Vogel from Greeley and Hansen, who will be awarding our Outstanding Nonprofit Organization category.
Thanks to the U.S. Water Alliance for hosting this event, and to all of you for tuning in. I'm Paul Vogel, President of Greeley and Hansen, and I'm so happy to be participating in this ceremony today. At Greeley and Hansen, we're dedicated to development of innovative solutions to One Water challenges. And I am personally very lucky and excited to have been able to collaborate with our next winner on a project to reduce nutrient pollution in the nation's waterways. This year's recipient of the U.S. Water Prize for Outstanding Nonprofit Organization is the Iowa Soybean Association. The Iowa Soybean Association promotes water management practices that benefit farmers, watersheds, and communities. The ISA is also driving watershed planning across the state of Iowa, and I'm delighted to pass the mic to my friend and professional colleague, Roger Wolf. Roger is the Director of Innovation and Integrated Solutions and is helping to build a One Water future in Iowa and through his courageous leadership nationwide. Roger, congratulations. The floor is yours.
Wow. Thank you, Paul. It's great to see you virtually anyway, and thank you for the U.S. Water Prize. I want to say that you and Greeley Hansen have been a great friend and fostering One Water leadership and collaboration. This has been very important to build the relationships that are necessary and for ISA to be successful, but for us to achieve the One Water vision. It's frankly my privilege on behalf of the Iowa Soybean Association, our nearly 38,000 Iowa soybean farmers and our staff to accept this award on their behalf. If you fly over or drive through Iowa in the summer, what you'll see is a green landscape of rolling hills with nearly half of the row crop acres planted to soybean production. These soybeans are a source of protein and oil going into our food, feed, and fuel systems. Our farmers produce this important agriculture commodity each year. They annually make hundreds of decisions about their cropping systems, and they manage a variety of challenges. The precipitation that falls on the landscape often determines production and profitability for these farmers. Some years it's too little, some years it's just right, and some years it's too much. And we have to farm in the face of those changing conditions. At Iowa Soybean Association, our programs are designed to strengthen farmers and the soybean industry's ability to successfully adapt and manage cropping systems. Our work is accomplished via an integrated framework of agronomic, natural resources, and environmental management support. With our programming, our farmers are working to build stronger soils and cleaner water. And the viability and the sustainability is vitally important in this space. As water accumulates in our wetlands, lakes, and rivers and flows through our cities, we are keenly aware of our role in helping our communities achieve the idea of One Water management. I really want to thank the U.S. Water Alliance for this acknowledgement. The Alliance has helped us advance this important work and to build the relationships. Thank you to Melissa Miller and the contingent of Iowa One Water delegation disciples who nominated us for this award. I also want to thank our sponsors and collaborators, which are hundreds of them, including our state and federal agriculture and conservation agencies. Our philanthropic supporters are vital for a nonprofit to do this work. Research and technology institutions, our agricultural supply chain collaborators, and numerous conservation organizations. A special thank you to our working relationship we have with the water sector and several cities in Iowa, most notably Cedar Rapids, Des Moines, and Ames. And there's numerous others, too many to mention. A special thank you to our farmer leaders who provide the oversight and guidance. We know who we work for and the annual support that we receive from them. A special thank you to our farmer champions and program participants. We're not able to do this work without your membership and engagement. And finally, I want to thank the tremendous staff here at Team ISA. Our staff have a passion for our farmers, the work that they do, who are driven to deliver impact and outcomes that are important on the farm and downstream. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Roger, and congratulations to Iowa Soybean Association. You know, when I took on the role at the U.S. Water Alliance 5 years ago, you were one of the first people that I called to help me learn about agriculture. You have been a wonderful colleague and friend over these years. Next, we are going to hear from Al Cho from Xylem, who will introduce this year's winner in the Outstanding Cross-Sector Partnership category.
Hello, everyone. Wherever this message finds you, It's an honor to be celebrating some great news with you today. I'm Al Cho, Vice President and General Manager at Xylem. In our line of work, sustainability means building a more water-secure world while also creating social value. Empowering communities is one of our key values, and we applaud the U.S. Water Alliance and its partners for emphasizing the importance of inspiring the next generation of water stewards. We're so proud to announce that the winner of this year's U.S. Water Prize for Outstanding Cross-Sector Partnership is the Flint Community Lab, a project spearheaded by Flint Development Center, Freshwater Future, and the University of Michigan Biological Station. The lab's purpose is to inspire community members to get involved in their city's water issues and to provide accurate and trusted information to residents about the water that serves them. Congratulations to the lab on its profoundly important achievements, and congratulations to all the One Water leaders who made the lab possible. We're so proud to honor you today.
All right. So I would like to thank you guys for the award on behalf of the Flint Development Center, our community partners, which is our funders and Freshwater Future, Michael Harris, SIPI, and the City of Flint Mayor Sheldon Neely, and the community as a whole. We'd like to thank you guys for this Water Alliance Award. We really appreciate the recognition. Flint has suffered through so many challenges, but by far the water crisis was the most challenging for us. It also depleted the trust that we have in the government system that we have here in Flint. And so the Water Lab is designed to provide the City of Flint residents with a testing process that's right in their community so that they can trust the water testing system in Flint. So the Community Water Lab is here to build, one thing is to regain the trust of the Flint residents and to also give samples of water testing that are true to the testing and that the people can believe in, and to also just bridge the gap between the health disparities that we are suffering as a result of the water crisis, and to kind of just bridge the community back together so that we can, so that the resiliency that we have can shine through and that we can once again be a whole community. So we'd like to thank you all for this award, and we also would just like to say thank you to everybody for our recognition, and that as a City of Flint, that we are resilient and we're making it through this water crisis, and because of people like you and the recognition that we have received, we are growing and we're getting better. So thank you so very much for the Water Alliance Award, and we appreciate it, and we're going to live up to everything that's expected of us in this city. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Shelley, for your work. It's easy to give an award, but to think about how to repair trust after the tragedy of Flint, Michigan, you are the one doing the real work. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next, I would like to introduce Cindy Wallace-Lage from Black & Veatch, and she will be announcing the public sector winner.
Thank you, Radhika, and thanks to you and your team for creating this online celebration. It's fun to celebrate in today's world, and finding these opportunities to come together to do so is fantastic. I'm Cindy Wallace-Lage, President of the Water Business for Black & Veatch, and I am very honored to be joining everyone in this celebration and celebrating these outstanding One Water leaders. So at Black & Veatch, we believe in the importance of water resiliency and the need for long-term strategic planning to achieve One Water goals. We see this type of planning happening around the world, but we really see this in the work of our next winner. So I am very excited to celebrate Denver Water as this year's recipient of the U.S. Water Prize for Outstanding Public Sector Organization. In a state where water scarcity is the norm, Denver Water is pioneering a range of One Water approaches, including an integrated water management strategy for the redevelopment of its headquarters. So congratulations, Jim. Very excited to have Denver Water receive this. So congrats to you and your entire Denver Water team.
Thanks, Cindy. I really appreciate it. And thanks for the partnership of Black & Veatch on a number of the important projects that we're working on as well. And Radhika, thanks to the U.S. Water Alliance for this prestigious recognition. We really appreciate it. 10 years ago or so, we embarked on a planning effort to decide what to do with our 35-acre campus, on which sits an administration building that was built in the 1970s and a number of operational facilities like warehouses and trade shops. And we decided that we wanted to go really above and beyond and create an entire campus that reflects the future of water and what the future of water use in the West can and should look like, as well as to create a healthy, world-class work environment. So at the end of the day, we pioneered a number of different OneWater concepts in Colorado that Colorado hadn't seen before, including rainwater capture and harvesting, the utilization of an in-building wastewater treatment system for irrigation and toilet flushing, green infrastructure to manage and clean stormwater. And we even are utilizing a loop line out of our water system as heat exchange. So we're literally using our water supply for water as well as for energy use. And so I'd like to thank, first of all, the employees who nominated us for this award. It really reflects the pride that our employees have in this facility. Our board for the vision and support of about a 10-year process, 5 or 6 years of planning and 4 years of construction on this facility. To Stantec, who were the lead architects, and Mortensen, the construction firm, for their partnership and innovation in this process. We had a number of employees who were using lean concepts to increase efficiency and workflow in the work environment to make sure that the building actually supported the work that we do. And then teams of employees who work to remove a number of regulatory barriers that existed and were in our way to pioneering these concepts in Colorado. So at the end of the day, we're incredibly proud of this facility, and we look forward to the time when we can reoccupy that beautiful space again.
Thank you so much, Jim, and congratulations to you and Denver Water. So one thing that I will say is that if we had been doing this water prize ceremony in person, we would have now had a glass of wine or a glass of champagne and celebrated our winners. We're not obviously going to do that, but what we are going to do is get to have a moderated discussion with these innovators about what drove their successes and what can we learn from that as we move forward. So we're going to move now into the moderated discussion. The Alliance team has put some questions together, and then we also got a lot of questions from social media and our Twitter channel that folks weighed in with. So the first question, let me start with Jose. So I'd love to hear a little bit about what the response to the reporting on the water crisis in the Central Valley has led to, both nationally and in California.
Well, after the first story came out, and I should tell people who maybe haven't read the series yet, it was 3 stories and an explainer that were published over the course of 6 months. The stories were well received. Politicians in California, afterwards announced their support for legislation that had been in the works for a long time, for, decades really, to overhaul the infrastructure problems. And there was also, I think, just a lot of awareness raised nationally about the extent to which this was an issue in California, which is the richest state and the richest country in the world. And so I was myself really happy with the reception, but the most poignant and I think meaningful part to me was how the work was received in the communities that I was writing about. Some of the organizers and government employees who had been raising awareness on these issues on the ground approached me after the reporting was published and thanked me and told me I got it right. And for a journalist to hear from the people that you're writing about that they feel seen and that they feel like their story was told in the right way, and that people are understanding as a result of that reporting, that is, I mean, that's pretty much everything. And so to summarize the response politically, it's always great to see legislators reacting to your work, or, presidential candidates tweeting about it or whatever. But the more meaningful part for me as a storyteller and as a writer was seeing that that the people I was writing about felt really understood.
And it's so true, Jose, because you brought voice to those who have no voice in the policy conversation about water, and you helped change that. So thank you. Robert, I want to ask you a question to tell us a little bit about how the team at Marriott really decided to create a brand standard for water management. And, I suspect that you had to have folks all across the Marriott team engaged and at the table to make this work. So tell us a little bit about that story.
Yeah, thank you for the question. We're a large organization. We have lots of stakeholders in our organization. So to talk a little bit about the second part of your question first, bringing all those stakeholders together, is quite a challenge. The owners of the hotels, the associates at the hotels, the guests that are staying at our hotels. But I think that, within our organization, it wasn't that hard for us all to agree that, the footprint that we have, the responsibility that we have is a global company, as the largest hotel company in the world, to our communities, to the planet at large. It was something that we quickly moved forward with. And the Serve 360, and if somebody's really interested, they can go on, Marriott Serve 360. The tagline is doing good in every direction. So it's not just the sustainability goals that we have; it's all the other aspects of our business as well. And it is fairly universally embraced by our associates. We hope that our guests that are coming to stay at our hotels appreciate what we're doing. It is and has been a lot of effort, but the people that we have in the organization are very, very passionate about it, and really work hard to accomplish the goals.
Thank you, Robert. Next, I'd like to hear from Jim in Denver. So, Jim, what you're doing with your headquarters is so inspiring, but Denver Water has been a One Water leader on many things, from how you're thinking about planning for climate change to thinking about an integrated water management strategy for your utility. So can you share with listeners some of those other components of how you're advancing One Water?
Sure. Well, of course, we wanted this campus to be really the tip of the spear for what could be done with regard to water efficiency, water use, and One Water concepts. And as a result of our development, we've not only changed regulations, but we're working with city governments and the development community in other large campus developments to incorporate these same concepts. As you mentioned, our integrated resource planning involves scenario planning and the implications of climate change and how we can maximize the use of water. We've obviously, like other Western utilities, really hammered on conservation and water use efficiency. We actually piloted water recycling several decades ago, and in 2004 built a water recycle plant that we're taking treated wastewater and using it for irrigation within our service area. And then and we're also working with the U.S. Forest Service on watershed health because we believe that it's cheaper to treat water at the source as opposed to with gray infrastructure. So we've partnered with the Forest Service to spend $60 million over the last 10 years on forest health treatments in our watersheds. And then finally, there's a really cool project that we're working on related to the Highline Canal. The Highline Canal is a 72-mile irrigation canal that was built across the Denver metropolitan area in the late 1880s. And Denver Water owns that entire canal, and we deliver water through the canal to various customers. But the canal is incredibly inefficient. It loses more than 60% of its water along the way to seepage. And, given that water use efficiency is extremely important, we decided to figure out a different use for that canal because it's also become an incredible recreational amenity for the Denver metropolitan area, a trail that is just a place of rest and recreation for hundreds of thousands of people. So we're transforming that canal. We are taking customers off of it, putting them on alternative water sources, including recycled water. And then we're going to turn the canal into a stormwater management conveyance system, green infrastructure, and manage the stormwater through the canal so that it creates the cleaning function that green infrastructure does, and also keeps the ecology and the tree canopy on the canal alive and healthy. And we've gotten incredible community support. There's a new conservancy that was formed, the Highline Canal Conservancy, that's fundraising for management and enhancement of the canal's recreational amenities. And it's just, again, a very exciting project for us.
Thank you, Jim. I can't wait to actually visit the headquarters. We know we had planned an event there this fall, which we'll have to postpone, but I also want to see the canal project when we're able to travel again. So Shelley, one of the things that is so inspiring about the lab that you and Freshwater Future created is you didn't do it for the community, you did it with the community. So can you talk about the engagement strategy with residents and others?
Yes. So as part of the community water testing lab, we have what we call youth engagement. So with our youth engagement, we have high school kids that we come in, and they work in the summer, and we pair them with the University of Michigan Biological Chemistry Department. And they learn, for the first time, a lot of them are meeting college kids, so they get interested in college, first of all. That's one of the things. So we're implementing what we call the STEM program, and it focuses on the science with analyzing the water. They learn how to operate the water testing machines alongside with the chemist, because she's protective of that lab, so they can't do it without her. And then the technology of it is we're training the youth how to do a social media. So they're doing a Facebook page for the water lab. They'll be answering any questions and anything that come off of that water lab. And then for the community, we are also partnering with healthcare providers, educational providers, mental services, and nutritional services, because if the water tests 15 parts per billion, then we have to put them on a plan to help alleviate the lead in their bodies. And so that's some of the things that we're working alongside with the community and partnering with community services that can help to alleviate the problem and to build trust in the community.
Thank you, Shelley. I want to go to a question for Roger. So for those of you who know Roger or have talked to Roger in the past, he will say it's all about the watershed. It's all about the watershed. So tell us, Roger, why that is so important in Iowa and for Iowa Soybean Association.
Yeah, thanks, Radhika. That is my favorite word, watershed. It really comes down to, the old saying, think globally, but act locally. Water is the ultimate local issue, and the watershed gives us the boundaries, right? And it enables us to get our arms around it. But when we go into these watersheds, we're trying to create a value proposition for the stakeholders that live there, because they work there, they live there. We're trying to help them address their water resource issues. So when you're writing a watershed plan, you're thinking about that value proposition. We also have to think about the receivers of the benefits, the downstream folks, and how can those stakeholders be involved in the process, because we're essentially all in this together. So a good watershed plan is a roadmap. We like to say, that you have to have a plan. Otherwise, you're just going to drive yourself mad on these complex issues. So having a roadmap gives some thoughtful insight into the possibilities, the opportunities, and some predictability on the on-ramps, so to speak, and the pathways to achieving the outcomes that we're all after. So the farmers have to be directly involved. They help prioritize. They ultimately have to own the watershed plan. And the downstream folks have to be involved because they're the beneficiaries of a lot of what we do in these watersheds. So, and then finally, I think there's another important role for the supply chain, the influencers, the finance system, the agencies. You know, how do we put all those pieces together to achieve successful implementation?
Thank you, Roger. So now I'd like to turn to a question from from social media. It's from Jay in Oregon, and I'd like actually all of you to answer this question. If you could change one thing about education on water in the United States, what would that be? Jose, let's start with you.
It's a great question, and it's a tough one. I mean, like I mentioned before, water policy is maddening. I mean, it is so intersectional. It is so difficult to understand. But I think one of the crucial components is that we have to understand that this is where government bureaucracy meets daily human life in a visceral and real way. These are not abstract ideological problems, abstract problems. We have to understand human ramifications and consequences of water policy. And so I would just like to see our education system on water emphasize that the human side of these issues.
Thank you. And what about for you, Roger? What would be the one thing you would want to change about water education in this country?
Well, I think it's to give people the ability to make informed decisions. And it kind of gets to what Jose is talking about. You know, we like to say at Iowa Soybean, we want data and science to help guide us, and we go where the data takes us, and sometimes there's problems. And we have to acknowledge that there are problems, and we need to work hard and push hard to find workable solutions. And then at the end of the day, there's real costs involved in all this. So, you know, how do we account for those costs? So giving people the ability to make informed decisions with better data and information, and engaging them in the process. I don't think we're going to ultimately be successful until people see and feel and experience these things. So we have to help people understand and reach informed decision making. It's critical.
Thank you, Roger. And Shelley, what about you? What would you want to change about education on water in this country?
Well, I'm going to piggyback off of Jose and Roger, and I think that education is key. I mean, being that we have gone through the water crisis before and no one knew anything about the chemicals and things like that, and I think that having our politicians be more environmentalists would be, and more trained in environmental issues would be better, they would better serve their communities, especially when crisis hit like this. So I would like to see politicians become more environmentalists.
Thank you. And what about you, Jim?
Well, again, I think that we have so many different issues around water in this country, in the world for that matter, and it's all built on the foundation of climate change. And the one resource on Earth that is going to be fundamentally transformed by climate change is water in every respect. And so education about the sense of urgency in dealing with some of the issues that we have around water, whether it's PFAS or plastics, whether it's lead in service lines, whether it's the fact that there are communities in the United States that don't have adequate water supplies, where people are literally walking miles to haul water, where we have infrastructure that needs to be rebuilt. We need an entire comprehensive plan to manage water holistically in this country, and for the health of our people.
Thank you, Jim. You know, I recently heard someone say that while people don't realize it, water will be the medium by which we increasingly experience the climate crisis all around the world. So I could not agree with you more. And Robert, what about you? What would you want to change about water education in America?
Yeah, the only thing that I think that I would add to what the panel has already said is, probably two things. Personal responsibility, the personal footprint. I think education could be increased around, that subject. And along the same lines, really, the real cost of water. I think that is a big area of need. I don't know that a lot of people really understand, the real cost of water in their daily lives for a lot of reasons that you guys are well aware of.
Like it takes 32 gallons of water to make the one glass of wine that we are not drinking tonight because we're doing the ritual ceremony. That's right. I'm going to ask you all one more question, and taking them, there's so many great questions from the audience. So Roger, Sarah from Virginia is asking, how did Iowa Soybean Association, a commodity group, begin its One Water journey?
Well, first of all, it's a recognition that we lead the country in soybean production. We want to lead the country in addressing this challenge. And as far as engaging in the journey, it's about getting to know stakeholders, the water sector, the businesses, the cities. What do we have in common? If we relied on the policies of the last century, we will not achieve One Water, and we need to continue to mature that. And so it's been a wonderful experience, and applying leadership and the relationships are vitally important.
Great, thank you. Shelley, Elizabeth from Illinois asked, you have learned a lot about how to rebuild trust after a crisis happens. What lessons do you have for local government and water utilities through that process?
I think transparency is key to the trust. When we were finding out about the water crisis, there were so many hidden things about it and that we didn't understand and we didn't know and that were kept from us. And so the trust was demolished between the residents and the government officials. And so I think transparency and letting us know exactly what is going on is the key to keeping the trust between the residents and the officials.
Thanks, Shelley. So Jim, a question for you from Steve in Colorado. There were many hurdles along the way as you realized the vision of your headquarters complex. Can you tell us about what those were and how you overcame them?
Well, it was really an interesting experience because we were incorporating technologies, of course, that had been proven across the world. So we weren't really paving anything new from a worldwide perspective, but certainly we were doing something in Colorado that had never been attempted. So for example, people may not know that rainwater capture and use in Colorado is illegal without a water right. And so we filed the very first water right application in Colorado for rainwater capture and the use of rainwater for irrigation purposes. And so we have cisterns and a whole complex rainwater capture system. The regulators in Colorado had never seen the technology of an in-building wastewater treatment system before. And so the state health department was extremely concerned. They didn't even want us to do it. If they were going to allow us to do it, it would only be for irrigation purposes. We wanted to use it also for toilet flushing. And so we literally went to the legislature and passed a bill through the legislature that ordered the state health department to begin rulemaking proceedings to allow additional uses for recycled water in Colorado. We were only one of 3 states in the entire country that didn't have an extensive use of recycled water. You'd think Colorado was a little more progressive than that, but in this area we weren't. And we came up with this idea of the looped water system for heat exchange as opposed to in-ground heat exchanges for the system. And our administration building is LEED Platinum Net Zero Energy, and we're using our own water supply for heat exchange. And that was a cultural shift for our employees and our operations folks because they had to make sure that the use of this loop water line wasn't going to interfere with the way they were running water through the system for drinking water. So we had everything from regulatory hurdles, legal hurdles, to internal cultural issues that we had to manage our way through. That made it a great learning experience, and ultimately we realized our vision.
Thank you, Jim. So, Jose, another congratulations is in order. I hear that you are now at the Washington Post. So tell us what's on the horizon for you and what you're going to be covering next.
Yeah, so I came back to the Washington Post. I was actually a staffer at the Post for several years before I went to the New York Times, so it's a little bit of a homecoming. For the next few months, I'm going to be covering the presidential election. I'm pitching in with our election coverage, which once upon a time was the biggest story of the year, but since then we've had so many overlapping apocalypses to cover. So I'm sort of pitching in wherever I'm most needed. After the election, you know, I'm going to have to meet up with my editors to talk about what comes next. But as always, I'm interested in writing about the intersection between politics and public policy and people's day-to-day lives. That's how I found my way to the water reporting, which I would love to continue after the election. With even more national sweep and with more rigor. So if any of you have any story ideas, please feel free to reach out.
I have a feeling that question will blow up the Twitter chat that's happening right now around this. We have lots of stories for you. And Jose, all I can say is I think this is going to be the most unusual election to cover in our lifetimes for certain. So Robert, can you tell, what I understand about Marriott is that you had actually a very swift and proactive response to the pandemic. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how water figured in?
Yeah, well, thank you for saying that. You know, very unfortunately, you know, our industry has been, you know, hit very hard with the pandemic, and we're on a mission to not only help, you know, the larger situation, but also to restore, you know, customer confidence in travel and coming to the hotels. And I think that we've done a very good job always with Marriott, 90 plus year company in keeping our hotels very clean and keeping our rooms you know, very clean. At the same time, you know, retraining our housekeepers over the last several years to you know, improve their usage of water in the as part of the cleaning processes. And I think that we're making progress towards that restoration of customer confidence. I mean, there's been some events, you know, especially in the last you know, month or so with the surge in the U.S. that's you know, pushed that back to some degree. But I think that we are making, you know, that progress in the hotels, and we have a lot of strategies that we've put in place, you know, with our housekeepers to enhance cleanliness protocols that will help that, you know, even more. And what we're going through now obviously doesn't relieve us of the bigger responsibility that we've been talking about, and we're still aggressively pursuing, you know, our 2025 goals around water and carbon waste and all of the other Surf 360 goals. So with the partnership of the U.S. Water Alliance and other vendor partners that we have, hopefully we will continue to make progress and make those goals.
Thank you, Rob. So I have one final question for all of you, and then we'll wrap up. So we have hundreds of One Water leaders listening in right now from all around the country. And they're on their own journey. They're facing their own challenges as they're trying to innovate in the water sector. So what's one insight or lesson learned that you want to leave our audience with? And I am going to do it in the order of, I'm going to start with Shelly, actually. Shelly?
All right. So one of the things that I've learned is that you can't do it alone. You shouldn't try to do it alone. So one of the things that I think that would help anybody that's trying to do the same thing that we've done would be partnership with environmental groups. and health groups, city officials. And one of the things you really need to do is get the buy-in from the community. Without that, the trust goes away. So to build trust, you need to have the community's advice and the community's input and their buy-in into whatever project you're trying to create.
And what about you, Jim?
I guess I'd say stick with it. Develop a vision, recruit support, partner, reach out, and work your way through the process, and don't let them get you down. Patience and persistence are key.
Thank you, Jim. Roger?
I agree with what's already been said. But the one thing that I think as I look back and going forward, focus on outcomes and the interrelated outcomes that'll move the needle forward. And they're multifaceted. Rob talked about those for his industry, but whether it's carbon in soils or water management, figuring out these outcomes and advancing the needle, that's what we need to do.
What about you, Robert?
Oops. What I would add to what's already been said is to find passionate people. We have been very lucky to have very passionate people around this subject. Passion is contagious, and once that passion is displayed in a hotel or in the company at large, it grows. And I think that's why we've been successful for the most part with accomplishing the goals and what we've been able to do so far. So find passionate people.
Well, passion is indeed contagious. And I will say all of our winners have passion for what they're doing. Thank you, Rob. And Jose?
I would just say, reach out to journalists. It's a little self-serving, but journalists, particularly with the way in which local media organizations have shut down in the last 5 to 10 years, national reporters are very often far removed from some of your communities out there in the country. We, reporters like myself, pride ourselves on traveling, on spending time in these communities, on putting a down payment in these communities by showing that we are willing to show up. But, water is complicated, and we need people who trust us to get these stories right and who come with information and with, tangible stories to help us understand what the issue is. I'm talking, of course, more from an equity lens right now, which is not to discount the important work that others are doing in creating water treatment regimes and creating sustainability regimes. This is all to say that you should familiarize yourself with the regional, local, and national reporters who are covering the environment, who are covering water, and don't be shy about reaching out. I personally love hearing from people who are passionate about what they're doing, and a conversation, even if it doesn't result in a story, is not time wasted. It is exactly how these ideas are spread and reported on.
Thank you, Jose. That is great advice. And I just want to say again, congratulations to our 2020 U.S. Water Prize winners. You are really such an inspiration to me and to the entire U.S. Water Alliance network. I also want to say that, this was supposed to be a ceremony that happened in person in Washington, D.C. in May. And honestly, as a team, we didn't really know how this was going to go. But I want to thank the staff at the U.S. Water Alliance who really guided us in this pivot to a virtual ceremony. Sarah Huckins, Abigail Gardner, Linda Lee, and the whole team for doing this. I also welcome your feedback because I have a feeling that virtual is going to be the way that we live for quite some time. So if you have feedback for the U.S. Water Alliance on how we can improve upon these virtual gatherings, I really encourage you to reach out to me and let me know. And finally, I just want to thank all of you, the hundreds of folks that have taken time out of their day to dial in, to hear from these winners. I look forward to continuing the dialogue with all of you. One water, one future, and we'll do it together. Have a wonderful day. Thank you all so much. Don't go. Since 2011, the U.S. Water Alliance has awarded the preeminent recognition for innovations in One Water. This year, the announcement of the U.S. Water Prize comes at a time when a global pandemic is shining a spotlight on the need for safe, reliable, and affordable water and greater investment in our nation's water systems. We wanted to take a moment to thank all of those in the water sector for their courageous service in this time of crisis. And amidst these hard times, the U.S. Water Alliance team is gratified to have an opportunity to celebrate the 6 winners of U.S. Water Prize 2020. These winners are an important reminder that while the challenges facing water infrastructure and water resources are great, that our capacity for innovation and for problem solving is even greater. We hope that the 2020 winners inspire you as much as they inspire us.
This year's winner of the U.S. Water Prize for the Public Sector category is Denver Water. Serving 1.5 million people in the Mountain West, Denver Water is the oldest and largest water provider in Colorado. In a state where water scarcity is the norm, Denver Water is pioneering a range of One Water approaches. Denver Water embraced an integrated water management strategy for the redevelopment of its 34-acre headquarters. This redevelopment includes sustainable features like water recycling and rainwater harvesting. The utility also pushed for new state regulations to enable innovative ways to use and reuse water. The impact of the utility's One Water leadership is rippling across Colorado as other facilities take advantage of the new regulations. This year's winner of the U.S. Water Prize for the Cross-Sector Partnership category is Flint Community Lab. In 2018, Flint Development Center, Freshwater Future, and the University of Michigan Biological Station came together to create the Mackenzie Patrice Kroom Flint Community Lab. Their goal is to address the challenge of rebuilding public trust in the wake of the Flint water crisis. The lab's purpose is to inspire community members to get involved in their city's water issues and to provide accurate and trusted information to residents about the water that serves them. With its positive impact on water issues and the health and well-being of community members, the Flint Community Lab exemplifies the broad-based impact that cross-sector partnerships can have across America. This year's winner of the U.S. Water Prize for the nonprofit category is Iowa Soybean Association. Iowa Soybean Association explores and promotes water management practices that benefit farmers, watersheds, and communities. Rooted in the agricultural sector, Iowa Soybean Association carries out projects that show how certain farming practices that protect Iowa's waterways can also benefit the bottom line of farmers. Iowa Soybean Association is also driving watershed planning across the state, sparking conversations and innovations that create cross-sector agreement on water management challenges. Iowa Soybean Association's approach to One Water enables progress toward goals for water quality and quantity in ways that benefits all stakeholders. This year's winner of the U.S. Water Prize for the private sector category is Marriott International. As part of Marriott's sustainability and social impact goals, The company aims to reduce water intensity across all properties by 15% over the next 5 years. Marriott's approach to saving water includes an innovative water control system for air conditioning coolers. Marriott also conserves water in several other aspects of hotel operations, including laundry and linen reuse programs, dishwashing and water service at restaurants and events, and landscaping and irrigation. Marriott's investments in sustainable and integrated water management illustrate the company's visionary leadership. Marriott is driving solutions to water challenges across the hospitality industry. This year's winner of the U.S. Water Prize for the Outstanding Journalism on the Value of Water category is Jose Del Real for his reporting on the water access gap in California. Jose Del Real's reporting has brought to light what has been an underreported problem in America, that there are millions of people in our nation without access to drinking water and sanitation. In his reporting for the New York Times, Jose spotlighted what the lack of water access means for low-income communities in California's Central Valley. Jose's coverage helped propel California legislation, enacted in 2019, that provides $130 million to fund clean drinking water infrastructure. Jose Del Real's coverage demonstrates how journalism can help push for water policy innovations and ultimately advance a One Water for All future. This year's winner of the U.S. Water Prize for the Outstanding Public Official category is United States Senator Ben Cardin for authoring and supporting policies that build a sustainable water future. Over his distinguished career, Senator Ben Cardin has been a champion for America's water. An advocate for the environment, Senator Cardin has introduced legislation to restore the health of America's great water bodies. In addition to his dedication to the betterment of the Chesapeake Bay, Senator Cardin also has a long record of fighting for better water infrastructure. He is also an advocate for water justice, sponsoring bipartisan legislation to create a low-income assistance program for water customers. These historic achievements for our nation's water and for the citizens who rely on it every day make Senator Ben Cardin a true One Water leader.